So today we are going to put some color onto our windows with oil pastels. Let me show you how. But first, I want to look at a little bit of kaleidoscope designs one more time, just to show you that it can be done on a different format also. So before we get started, I just want to say one more thing about kaleidoscopes. When will she stop talking about kaleidoscopes? That's all she talks about. Oh my gosh, let's move on. We used our initials, but you can see here, this is a kaleidoscope design, but it's just done with lines and shapes. So there's a straight line, a curved line, and an organic shape. And then we put it all together, and it gave a unique kaleidoscope design. So that'll work out just fine. Here's one that's done with a lizard. The lizard has been fit into that triangular shape, and when you put him together, you can see he gave this kind of crazy little design, which is fun too. An Olympic torchbearer, and when you put this guy together, he gives you that kind of design. So you don't necessarily have to use your initials. This is something that you can replicate with all kinds of fun things. Just something to share with you. Okay, so this is what we're heading towards. So you can see where our windows will end up. And notice the torn edges. That's the first thing we're going to do today. So if you look at, we have this one, we have the window done and a little bit of the wall. So you need to decide, do I want siding on my wall or bricks or however you want that wall to look? It seems like Allison, Rachel, and Beckett are pretty much done and they're ready for the next step. They've got the walls on there. Some of these other ones I think still need a little bit of work. So in order to tearing cardboard is not easy. So I can do it, I'm going to try down here where there's, it's hard. Look at the cardboard bends and there you go. I find that if you take a pair of scissors and give it just a little nip in the side, just a little one, tiny, tiny little cut, that will at least help you get started. The idea is that you want some organic torn edges around the side. Again, you don't want to do, just like with the tissue paper, you don't want to do a big, huge tear like you would have torn your fish in half. You don't want to tear your window completely in half, but you want to kind of manipulate this and tear it around the edges. Now, one of the things that we would like to do is tear back some of the layers of this corrugated cardboard. See how they have those zigzag little layers in there? That gives us another little added bit of texture. So if I put a little nip up here, then I can use my pincher fingers to maybe just tear the top part and leave a little bit of that corrugation showing underneath. Granted, this is going to tear into your design just a little bit, or your drawing, but that's okay. You want it to have sort of that irregular, natural look rather than this cut look from my razor blade. So I'm going to continue tearing all the way around the window so that I can get these irregular edges, and then peel back a little bit so that I can get some of this texture. So I've torn all the way around the edges. Now, if you leave some straight edges, like there's one right here and a little bit of one right there, that's fine. Just a couple here and there, that'll be all right. But for the most part, you want a nice organic shape around this window. And then we're going to start coloring it with some oil pastels. So these are a little bit chunky, you know that. And what you're going to do is really cover up some of the cardboard. Try not to cover up this corrugated part down here. And then you also need to make some decisions like about your bricks. Like I can decide that maybe I will have, you can use any kind of outlandish colors if you want to. Maybe I'll have orange bricks with brown lines in between them. So what I'm going to do first is put some of the orange on there and then go back and fill in with the brown. If you remember, if I tried to draw brown lines for my bricks first and then go back in with the orange, then you know the brown is going to smear through the orange. But if I can color the orange first all over and just give it a really good base coat of that orange, then I can go back on top and very carefully outline with the brown. I might even use this edge that has a little bit of a sharper edge on it, okay? And that'll give me a nice clean line without any smearing. Or if it does smear, that's okay, because then the lighter color smeared into the darker color and it doesn't show up. So I might do the same thing here. I might do the entire window and then put the leaves on top of it. And I'll definitely do it up here. I'll color in this window and then put those lines in there later on. If you look at some of these that are finished, you'll notice that we did that. We colored the white first and then put the brown on top for the lines. Same thing with the shutters. All right? So we'll give you some time to color that up. Notice that we didn't color this corrugated part. The idea is that it was actually torn or worn away after the coloring was done, even though we're doing it in the reverse order. And the reason for that is it's very hard to tear this cardboard and not smear it and ruin it with the oil pastels. So we kind of have to do the tearing first and then we go back in. So you can see up here we left this corrugated part that was shown and just kind of colored right up to it and not on top of all of that. So it doesn't necessarily have to go all the way out to the edges. All right. These shadows that are on the window, we'll talk about those later. So right now I want you just to color in the big blocks of color. Color in the walls, color in the shutters, color in the windows. Give them a little bit of detail and then we'll talk about that shading later. Okay? All right, have fun with it. All right, so here's my window. You can see how I have colored everything on there except for these cutout areas around here. It's kind of nice to have those interiors showing so that it looks like somebody peeled back the part that was colored, even though we did it in the reverse order. And everything has been colored, and then you notice I laid on the outline after I did the base color on there with the oil pastels. All right. Remember, I would love for you to have some really intense color. We don't want any of this wimpy little coloring. Really give it some color in the space. You guys know how to do that. You've worked with this before. And then for your final touch, that's when you put those highlights onto your window. So if you look at this one, you can see how we have just another random color added into the top and the right-hand side of the window. You could do the top and the left-hand side, or you could do the left and the bottom. It doesn't matter. Just do two sides on that window that are connected and be consistent so that it's the same in every frame. So when I do it on this one, I might do the top and down the right-hand side, but then on this, the top right, top right, top right, top right. So you'll understand how that will all go together. Here's the other one that also did the same thing. It really doesn't matter which two sides you use as long as you are consistent and do the same thing in every window pane rather than, you know, something different in each one. Then it won't look like it's a single light source falling onto the window panes. All right, you guys have fun with this. I can't wait to see your results.